Then this fleet was, the refueling area was 200 miles off the coast of Japan, and then we called up for our first strike on the mainland of Japan. And I can remember my first day, first strike in Japan. We had an early breakfast, about 4:30, and I got up on the flight deck and threw my whole breakfast up, which was a complete waste of money. But that's how brave I was. Then we got into our planes and took off, and we flew quite low to avoid radar contact. And I remember as I approached the coast of Japan, there was a Japanese fisherman on the beach there. I think he was repairing his nets or whatever fishermen do. And I had him in my sight, and I thought, you poor little bastard, I'm not going to use you for target practice. It's not going to change the course of the war one little bit. He's probably married with kids and all that. But he stood up and started waving. It never occurred to him that we might be in the aircraft. So then we went on. Our first mission was to bomb, actually that was two missions later, to bomb the Mitsubishi factory, is where they were making Betty two-engine bomber aircraft. So we made quite a mess of that. And I remember on my way back to the carrier, we were given permission to do what was called targets of opportunity. And on the way back, I saw a destroyer anchored in a little cove there. So I hadn't used my guns up till then. I did a run on the destroyer together with my wingman, and but they got quite upset with me and shot me down. I was pulling away, and I found I had no oil pressure, and the 2,300 horsepower Pratt & Whitney doesn't run very long without oil pressure. And my wingman said, well, head for the ocean, John. I said, well, I'm not heading for Tokyo. So fortunately, there's a whole string of air-sea rescue submarines off the coast of Japan. And fortunately, about a week before, we were given instruction how to land in the ocean. And you don't land the conventional way of into the wind, which would not be a good idea because you'd be hitting into the waves. You do a crosswind landing and you land in the trough. And I managed to do a pretty good landing. It was only a mile and a half off the coast of Japan. And my wingman, I managed to got caught in my webbing equipment and got my knife and cut it. And by then I was going down. I popped up like a cork. And all I had was my vest. And very nice US Navy pilot. We did great cooperation together. Dropped his dinghy, which meant quite an inconvenience for him because, as you know, you sit on your dinghy. So I don't know what it did to his vision, but he dropped his dinghy in the ocean near me, and I swam to it, pulled the CO2 bottle, then I had a beautiful dinghy to swim to and climb aboard. And my wingman, meanwhile, was doing some busy work on the radio and calling air-sea rescue, and then they got the nearest one to me, and I think it was probably difficult to remember, maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours later, a huge ship pulled up alongside me, and I thought, oh damn it, it's the Japs. That's the last thing I want. It turns out, if you're in the water, a submarine surface looks pretty big. And the first lieutenant threw me a line, and I pulled so hard I pulled him into the water. But they reckoned he just did that to get his brandy ration. Anyway, it was lovely. I was in this submarine. Very nice wardroom, actually, and the food was good. The next day, I had them plotting, looking at charts, what bit of devilment they were going to get up to. And the next morning, I was enjoying a marvelous breakfast on submarines and so on. And first-run movies, by the way, before they were even shown in New York. But I was enjoying my breakfast, and there was an announcement, 5-inch and 40mm gun used, cruise man your guns. And not long after the sound of 40mm gun crews started, and I quickly lost my appetite for the breakfast. Thought whatever it is, it's got to be pretty near if the 40mm gun crew goes up. And while all this was going on, a US sailor came down and said, so the captain says if the British survivor wants to, he can come up on deck. So I thought, well, I can't let the Royal Navy down. I climbed up inside the conning tower, and to my horror, there was Japan on 3 sides of me. And these idiots were shooting at a place called Shingu. There was an oil refinery there. They had it going up in smoke and flames. And I hadn't enjoyed watching this sight for very long when they picked up Jap planes approaching on centimeter radar, and then there was this dive, dive. So we all dove, sat on the bottom, and apparently we couldn't even talk. Just kept perfectly quiet. Everything was turned off, and then the sound of depth charges started to run, and they got nearer and nearer. I thought, why the hell did they pick me up? I was happy in my dignity. I wasn't trained for submarine warfare. I'd rather get shot down any day. Anyway, one of them practically knocked me from one side of the wardroom to the other. And fortunately, the next one never came. So we sat there for an hour or so, and then started up the electric engines and surfaced, and then they took me to Saipan. And from Saipan, I was sent by a breacher's boy from one submarine to another to USS Sterling, and USS Sterling took me to Guam, and I was on Guam when World War II finished. So I had a little bit of excitement towards the end of the war. We were stationed in Sydney, the British Pacific Fleet, the refueling base and everything was Sydney, which was rather nice because the Australian girls were quite pretty. A heck of a lot of Fleet Air pilots married Australian women. Some of them stayed in Australia, some of them went back to England with their wives. So that gives you a rough rundown of what happened to John Wells in World War II without going on for too long and making it too boring.